Welcome to the Dynamic Learning Hub of XLR at Andheri East. A prime spot conveniently located at just a 5-minute walk from LIC Andheri Metro. In our journey of over a decade, we have proudly trained over 2 lakh students. We've also been recognized by Deloitte, Silicon India, and other accreditation bodies. Experience learning like never before in our spacious and comfortable classrooms with high-definition projectors.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Balchandra.
Yeah, good morning, Chandana.
Yeah, you can start the session.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So, good morning, everyone. Let's start with a few other concepts of cloud computing. Let me quickly share my screen. So, if you can see my screen, we will try to see what are the different types of clouds as well. We have different types of clouds based on like different models. This is how the cloud services being offered to clients or the enterprise companies. All right. So we have 3 different types of cloud environments. That is nothing but a private cloud, public cloud, and the hybrid cloud. Okay. Let's try to understand more on these things. So last time we have discussed about different types of services, right? So let's try to understand on different types of cloud environments and how these are important. So when it comes to the private cloud is a cloud computing environment in which the infrastructure and services are owned and operated by a single organization. Okay. For example, a company or a government, and it is accessed by only authorized users. Okay. Within that particular company only. Then private company users have their own data center. Okay. So this private cloud system, they will have their own data center. They will try to develop their own center. Okay. So the private cloud provides a higher level of security. So that means no one else will have an access to these cloud services. That means the users and the company individuals only have their access. So just to make sure they doesn't want to share their data across the world. That's why the private cloud vendors, they will try to maintain their own data centers and they will try to have their infrastructure set up so that no one can have access to. All right. So the main advantage over here, the private cloud vendors provides a higher level of a security. Okay. As the organization has a full control over the cloud service, they can customize the servers to manage their security. Okay. So private cloud companies allows organizations to customize the infrastructure and services to meet their specific requirements. And also they can customize the security as well. When it comes to the privacy, private clouds provide increased privacy as the company or government, okay, has more control over who has access to their data and resources. So the examples we can take it as HP company, Dell company, VMware company, right? So these are the famous companies. They don't want to depend on other outside third party vendors. They want to develop their own data centers. They will try to install and develop applications in their infrastructure. Okay. When it comes to the public cloud is something in which the infrastructure and services are owned and operated by a third party provider. Okay. And made available to the public over the internet. That means the services inside the public cloud vendor are publicly accessible. That means the cloud vendors will try to manage the data center and they will try to provide the services to the customers like a companies. That's why we are calling them as a public cloud vendors. So it's simply nothing but the public can access and use shared resources like servers, storage, application. And the main thing is that we will try to pay for what you use. Okay, the pay as you go service. So we have discussed like example of these public cloud vendors are nothing but an Amazon Web Services, AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform. These are nothing but a public cloud vendors. So as we have discussed, the advantages being the cost efficient in this public cloud model, we have to pay for what we use. So it is more cost efficient than maintaining the physical servers or the own infrastructure. Automatic software updates in the public cloud, there are automatic software updates. We don't have to update the software manually. Okay. And in terms of accessibility, public cloud allows user to access their resources and applications from anywhere in the world. We just need an internet connection to access it. Okay. That's all about public cloud. When it comes to the hybrid cloud, okay, hybrid cloud is nothing but a combination of both public and private cloud environments that allows organizations or companies to take advantage of the benefits of both types of clouds. It manages traffic levels during peak usage periods, and it can provide greater flexibility, scalability, and cost effectiveness than using a single cloud, okay, environment. So hybrid cloud is nothing but a combination of private and public cloud environments. So who are the companies they are trying to, use this kind of a hybrid cloud environment like IBM, Data Core Software, Rackspace, ThreadStack. All right. These are the companies who are trying to use the hybrid cloud model. That means they are trying to provide this model. That means some services they will try to make sure it is a securely not accessible to anyone like a private, and some services they will try to provide access to the public over the internet. Okay. If you see, these are the companies who are trying to use the private, public, and hybrid cloud environments. Okay. So in the public cloud, we have AWS, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud Platform. These are the one. When it comes to the private cloud, VMware, Dell, Oracle, Cisco, these are the main centers over here. Okay. When it comes to the hybrid cloud, HP and even AWS is also part of hybrid cloud as well. That's what they are trying to tell. All right. So these are the different companies who are trying to use these kind of a public cloud models. So let's try to look at some other aspects. So let's try to understand on-premise versus cloud environment, like a physical infrastructure and cloud environment. Okay, cloud computing. Let me try to share this. What is a data center actually? A data center is nothing but a physical location, correct? A data center is nothing but a physical location that stores computing machines and the related hardware equipment. Okay, so in real time, how it looks like, the companies like Amazon, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, these are the companies who will try to maintain the big data centers, right? So this is how it looks like. So then this data center is something, it looks like, like a rack system. Like you can see, there is kind of a big level of a servers, big set of a servers placed inside these racks. Racks are nothing but a rectangular shaped box. Inside that, the servers will be placed. So these servers and the physical devices will be placed inside configured inside the data center. So this is how the data center looks like. You can see the Mumbai data center. This has been configured over here. So these cloud vendors will try to rent or lease the big acres of a space. Okay, so to have a data center deployed, and inside the data center, the servers, the devices, the physical networking devices, everything will be configured. So these devices, we are calling them as a racks. Okay, inside the racks, the servers will be placed. The servers are nothing but a virtual machines, and we can call that everything, whatever we are accessing over the internet, we get an access from these data centers only. Okay, so these data centers are present over different parts of the globe. Okay, so there will be admins or infrastructure people who will be trying to control these data centers. All right. So let's try to understand some aspects. Data center is nothing but a physical location that stores computing machines and the related hardware equipment. It contains the computing infrastructure that IT systems require, such as servers, data storage drives, and the network equipment. It is the physical facility that stores any company's digital data. All right. So why are data centers important? Because every business needs computing equipment to run its web applications, offers services to customers, sell products, or run applications for accounts, HR team, operations management, development team, and different teams. As the business grows and IT operations increase, the scale, the requirement of a number of servers and amount of requirement equipment also increases exponentially. Equipment that is distributed across several branches and in locations is hard to maintain, right? This is obvious truth that to have a, purchase the equipment and trying to maintain and use it, that is kind of a tedious job, right? Instead, what companies are trying to do? Companies use data centers to bring their devices to a central location and manage it cost efficiently, right? So rather having the infrastructure set up, they're trying to have all the devices, the servers to be deployed in a particular data centers, and instead of keeping it on premise, rather than trying to have a physical devices located in our offices, they are trying to put all the devices into particular location like a data centers over here, and then trying to have a remote access operation. Okay, so data center brings several benefits such as backup power supplies to manage the power outages, data replication across several machines for disaster recovery. That means if there is an issue in terms of a servers or in terms of physical aspects, then it is trying to provide a disaster recovery. That means you can try to easily recover with the backup options. Okay. Temperature control facilities to extend the life of the equipment. That means we need to have a proper temperature to be operated with the devices. Like for example, air cooling system. In at our homes, if we have a computers or the laptops or systems get heated up, right? Booted. So for that, systems is heating means the components inside the device that are being completely heated up due to heavy usage. For that, we need a cooling environment. So that cooling environment is maintained by data centers to extend the life of equipment. Easier implementation of security measures for compliance with the data laws. Okay. So on-premise means physical infrastructure, right? Okay. Cloud environment. On-premise is nothing but a physical infrastructure where you have a small company, where you want to maintain your data center at your location, where you will try to purchase the servers and the devices, the storage, and everything you will maintain. Cloud environment means the cloud vendor will maintain the data center, and the data center, the devices will be installed and that will be maintained. And you are trying to go with the rental basis or the leasing and model, like a pay-as-you-go service where you'll have a virtual access to the infrastructure. These are the things, correct? So that is possible with the help of a data center who is managed by the cloud vendors, correct? So inside the data center, what all the things we will see? So what actually the main requirement for a data center is nothing but a space. So usually cloud vendor, they will try to rent or lease the space which is required to deploy the data center. Okay. Next, it requires a power or electricity inside the data center. To maintain these data centers, it requires a big space, like acres of a land. They will try to have the data center configured, correct? And what else we need? We need a security. We need a manpower, because to control and operate, these are the people who are trying to operate these data centers, right? What else we need? Networking devices, they will try to have it implemented. You might have heard about routers, switches. These are the networking devices, etc. Okay. And we need cables as well, because these devices are connected with the cables. You see this, correct? Inside these servers, these are actually interconnected. These are connected actually with these devices. And then we are calling that as a servers. We are calling that as blade servers. This will be of a high configuration. So the servers will looks like this. You see this? This is how it is. It's not like a small computers. I mean, whatever the computer what we had home, it's like the servers will looks like this with a high level of a configuration, like a high level of CPU cores, memory, and the storage devices. You can see this is how it looks like. Okay, these will be installed under these racks. Okay, just a moment. Yeah. So these servers are required for inside these data centers. And what else we need? And cooling system. Okay. Okay. For these devices, once they install in the data centers, what actually happens? They will operate with a high amount of utilization. So for that, what actually happens? The servers get heated up. The temperature will be high. To make sure the temperature is, definitely it should be operated with extended life. Then it requires a cooling. So we'll have a ceiling AC and underground AC. Okay. We'll have a ceiling and underground AC. Like the temperature will be completely in control from underground and ceiling. You can see here it will have a, if you see the data centers, inside the data centers, there will be a completely cooling environment where underground and ceiling AC will be configured over there. Okay. And again, the main effective thing is that is nothing but a cost. We have to spend so much of a cost to lease, rent this particular space and trying to have this. So these are the minimum basic requirements for a data center to be deployed. So this should be a very much, burden for a generic users or the companies to invest so much of a time and amount and maintenance to have these data centers deployed. Correct? So these data centers actually being managed by cloud vendors. All right. So like Amazon, Google Cloud vendors, Azure. So what they are trying to do, they will try to rent or lease the space and they will try to develop their own data centers with these all aspects. And then again, they will try to provide remote services to the customers of the companies. Okay. So the last one is also nothing but a EOL, end of life. Okay. For example, if at some particular point, whatever the devices we are installing inside the racks and the servers, at some point, these devices actually, have some expiry, right? We have to replace these devices. So even this kind of a replacement, they have to take care and trying to replace with the new devices. That is also being taken care by the cloud data centers only. So all these aspects, it will be very tough to manage by a normal users and the small companies. Correct? So that's why this kind of a cloud computing concepts comes into a picture where it will try to help companies and small scale companies, mid scale organizations, and the private and government organizations in terms of a security, in terms of a reliability, in terms of a maintenance, in terms of a cost. That is going to be provide huge benefit to the customers. So that's why the cloud computing model comes into a picture. It's becoming famous as well. Okay. So this is how the data center, how it managed and what these aspects will be important in considering all these things. Okay. This is all about on-premise environment and the cloud environment and the data center aspects. I hope everyone are understanding, right? Okay. So let's try to see, as for example, AWS is a popular model. Okay. They are trying to provide a different services, right? Even that is also nothing but a cloud vendor. So AWS is also trying to provide different services across the different data centers. All right. I'll try to show you that. So for example, inside this AWS, we have a different structures. You can see they have a different data centers across the different countries across the globe. In India, they have their data center set up in Mumbai and Hyderabad locations. Okay. So we are calling that regions are nothing but locations and availability zones are nothing but data centers. All right. So when you see the differences between the on-premise versus cloud environment, you can see the different features and the differences between on-premise means physical infrastructure, cloud-based means the data centers which are managed by the cloud vendors. These are the main differences which you can observe. So in terms of a security, inside the on-premise environment, it's a complete company responsibility only. That means the people who maintain the on-premise environment, it's their responsibility. But when it comes to the cloud, it will be completely responsible by the cloud vendor. So if any issues or the maintenance, the cost and everything will be managed with the cloud vendor only. The customization, which is difficult in the on-premise environment, but in the cloud, it is simple. When it comes to the updates, the organization has no choice. Organization has a choice here. They will try to make sure what kind of an updates. Here in the cloud environment, they will try to take care of the backend, updates, updates or patches, maintenance, everything will be taken care by the cloud vendor. When it comes to the ownership, the complete ownership of a server and the data will have with an on-premise environment. But when it comes to the cloud environment, it is only the data ownership. That means if you are using a Google Drive, you're having a access and the ownership for your data which you upload in the Google Drive, but not the drive which is configured physically. That will be managed by the Google Cloud vendor. Okay. Auditing, if there is an issue or if any problems, okay, like in terms of a validation or the verification, it is difficult inside the on-premise. But when it comes to the cloud-based, it is simple. And when it comes to the connectivity with the physical infrastructure, servers or the devices or the access, that is difficult after working hours. Correct? And it's also harder to troubleshoot. But when it comes to the cloud, you can access the data access from anywhere, anytime across the globe, as the maintenance and the reliability and the performance inside the cloud environment is very much fast and available compared to the cloud environment, physical environment. Affordability, only big level organizations can afford this physical on-premise infrastructure. But when comes to the cloud, any small scale, mid scale, and the organizations can try to afford this cloud-based infrastructure. Okay. Right. Even from normal users like a private organizations, government organizations, even still using the cloud environment as a popular model. Okay. So for example, if you take a consideration of AWS cloud, there are big top companies using who is AWS cloud. You can see, like in terms of a content, like TV programs and streaming and everything, they are trying to use TV shows, movies, and the content. DreamWorks, Comcast, Discovery, Walt Disney, they are using AWS as a cloud partner. And the Netflix, to have the streaming and storage of the data, they are using the AWS. And the distribution, like a global Limelight, like a gaming companies, they are trying to use that as a cloud, AWS as a famous cloud vendor. And the playback devices, like Apple TV, smart TVs, iOS devices, Android, gaming console, PCs. So all these models, everywhere the cloud is into access. Okay. So that's how the cloud computing is a feasible model. Okay. Let's try to see if how the virtual servers can be launched inside the cloud data center. That means the physical servers are being managed by the data centers with the concept of a virtualization, and that is we are trying to remotely access those servers over the websites. Okay, that means we are trying to virtually access those servers or using the applications. Okay, I'll try to show you how it will be working. Okay, let me try to share. screen. Just a minute, let me open the console. So I'm logging to the Amazon console. So where I will try to have an access to all the services as I've showed you yesterday. So these are all the available services. Let's try to launch a sample virtual server. So I'm launching a virtual server. Okay. So we have a different operating systems, right? Like a Windows, Macintosh, and Linux, correct? So let's try to launch a sample server here. I'll try to launch a Windows server, for example. Okay. So you can see it is giving me an option. I'm trying to launch a Windows server inside the AWS console. Let's see. So rather purchasing a computer, trying to deploy applications, that it's a kind of a time taking, cost effective solution, correct? If you need so many. But in the cloud, within minutes, I can try to launch 100 servers at a time, with all Windows operating system. That is how it is very much feasible. So currently it is pending state. Let us give it some time. It's still pending. Let me refresh. It's still loading. Now you can see the server is in running state. That means my server has been launched inside the virtual cloud. So it is into particular Oregon location inside this data center. So this server has been launched for me. Okay. So let me try to connect the server quick. I will just try to launch the server. Let's see. Okay. Let's see this. I'm generating a password. See, the server is asking me a prompt. I entered the username and password. So the black screen you are seeing is nothing but a virtual server. That is nothing but a Windows operating system I launched inside the cloud. Okay, you see this? It is getting prepared. You see that? It's simply trying to have, a Windows server launched into a cloud environment. This is a different server. So inside my computer, I try to launch a Windows server. It was similar like a computer actually. So I'm trying to get an access to the virtual server over here. It's a Windows server, okay? So I can try to have my projects and applications and everything that can be trying to implement it over here. You see this? It is having a 30 GB of a storage. You can try to have it launched and trying to install. So it is nothing but a Windows 10 software, right? It is having around 1 core CPU and 1 GB RAM, I think. So it's a Windows 2022 server and 1 core CPU. You can see that 1 GB of RAM. Okay, 64-bit based PC. In the same way, I can try to launch a different version servers with a different configuration like a 2 core CPU, 4 GB of RAM, and 50 core CPU and 60 GB of RAM, whatever you prefer based on your requirement. Okay. This is how it helps for me to launch quickly a server at a time. So even I can try to launch hundreds of servers at a time. All right. So if you see, you can see the number of instances it can launch from 50 servers, 25 servers at a time. I can try to launch all the servers at a time with a one click. This is how it is will be helpful. Okay. Yes, the password is encrypted. You need to decrypt it with your key. There will be a key when you create. Once you decrypt, you will have a password that has to be entered. So the username is administrator and the password is the one you decrypt. And you need to enter that. It will allow you to log into the Windows server. Okay. You need to click on the connect button. So these instructions will be training will be given in pure, AWS class when you're trying to opt for it. Okay. MOBA Extreme software is for Linux. For Windows, it doesn't require. Okay. So if you want to try different servers, there are different types of, specifications. You can see that 1 core CPU, 1 GB RAM, 1 core CPU, 2 GB RAM, 8 core CPU, 32 GB RAM. There are different specifications. You can try to use that. You can see 96 cores of CPU and 192 GB of RAM. And it will have a different prices. You can see $4 per hour. Windows is $8.49 per hour. That means if you use this particular server, it costs you around $8 per hour. Means how much that? 6,000 rupees, right? Around 6,400 or something like that. So this is how the prices will range based on how much CPU, how much cores you are trying to use it, what kind of a software you are trying to use, how much time. It is nothing but a pay-as-you-go service. Okay. Let's try to launch a Linux server. Now we have launched a Windows server, right? Like a demo. Let's launch a Linux server in the cloud. So Linux server, it can be accessed through a PuTTY or a MOBA Extreme software. Okay. So Linux AMI, and it is having 1 core CPU and 1 GB RAM. It is having 8 GB of a storage, like a C drive. Okay. Root volume. Let's see. As we doesn't have any need of Windows server, let me go and terminate. So once the server is launched for the Windows, the backup and launch of new instance and everything you will learn in the course, full course. Okay, it's an introduction class. So you can try to stop the server, reboot the server, or terminate the server. As I'm done with the work with Windows server, I can easily try to, either stop means it will try to temporarily keep the data and stop the server. Reboot means restart. Terminate means it will try to delete the server. So I don't have a need for Windows. I'll try to delete the server. Okay, you can see successfully terminated the server. Okay, it is getting shutting down. The server gets shut down. My Windows server got shut down. You see this? Okay. Now let's try to check the Linux server. It is getting initialized. Let's see. Let's give it some time. In the meanwhile, if anyone have doubts, you can ask. Yes. So it's getting running state. Let me refresh this. Now status 6 has been passed and the server is in running state. If we have to connect, I'll try to connect here. Connect a server. So it is trying to open a default shell window inside the AWS that is giving access to connect the server securely, or else you can connect the server either through PuTTY or Mobile Extreme software as well, the Linux machines. Okay. You see this? I have successfully connected the machine, the Linux server, Amazon Linux 2023. This is a server that is trying to help make me log in over here. Okay. So we can try to log in and trying to execute the commands. You see that? I can try to install different softwares and everything. So I can try to enter commands as well. So I can use these servers. For example, Linux server I can use to deploy a website as well. Correct? I can try to install some software, try to deploy website, and I can try to do configuration. All right. You see this? I'm trying to enter commands. It is trying to take out everything I'm trying to do over the cloud only. Correct? So I'm trying to deploy a sample website. Okay. I have successfully deployed as well. So for example, if I want to access this particular website over the internet, okay. So you can see it is trying to show me a default of it works. That means a website is actually installed with a HTTP software, right? Let me try to see this. Okay. VIS, please. Now you see, this is a sample website. I try to deploy over here. Everyone is seeing that, right? So even if you try to access this website, you will also get this output. See, I'm trying to access some sample website, trying to deploy inside a Linux machine. Did anyone try? You can try to enter this because this website being managed by me, I'm the one who is trying to control it. I can try to have the content deployed it, correct? Did anyone try to access it? Is it working? Anyone? All right. So once I'm done with the work, either you can, usually we have to keep, but I just don't want to have any charges paid. So what I'm trying to do, once I'm done with the work, I can try to terminate the server again because as it's not required for me, correct? So the server is getting terminated. See, the server is shutting down and it will try to go to the termination mode. Now website won't be accessible because anyway I've shut down the server. Okay, it will be gone. The server has been completely terminated. In this way, I can try to use this cloud console. We have just discussed on AWS, right? We have a different cloud vendors will have a different user interface, like a Google Cloud Platform and the Microsoft Azure. They will have their own setup, own menu, and the different options. Everything will be different. In the same way, we have a different services like a networking, database, storage, monitoring services, container services, okay, like a coding services. We have a different set of services within the AWS cloud. So these are terminated. So this will be gone after some time. Okay. So the cloud vendors, they will try to have a different pricing sections. Okay. That means Amazon will have a different pricing because of the services that their different types of services they provide. Azure will have a different pricing section and a Google Cloud Platform will have a different pricing section. Okay. So every cloud vendor, based on their location, based on the type of services, the price will be defined. Okay, it's your wish or the company's requirement. Based on their contract requirement, they will try to choose which cloud vendor they want need it. Currently, AWS is a top vendor who are trying to provide different services across globe. Okay, and they are trying to provide the services as well and the certifications for the training purposes. And many companies are trying to opt for the cloud vendor setup, like a cloud computing. Even they have an on-premise infrastructure, they are completely migrating into the cloud environment. So these kind of a cloud vendors are trying to provide migration services so that the existing setup can be transferred to the cloud environment. That is how it is going to help out as well. Any doubts you can ask in the chat, the Zoom chat. Anyone? I hope everyone got understanding and benefit out of the session. You can ping me in the chat for any doubts. We are going to end the class soon. Any doubts? Any doubts? No, nothing. All right. So all the best, everyone. We'll go look forward if anyone trying to opt for the full-time batches, they will try to get in-depth training on AWS as well. Okay. Thanks everyone then.
Balachandra, I hope you are done.
Yes, I'm done.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you for your sessions these 5 days. Students, this is the last day to our sessions and you can continue your recording sessions. Okay. Thank you for joining all. Thank you, Balachandra.
Thank you.